Okay, about a 10-second warning, and we're going to shut off the lights for just a couple minutes.
In the digital age, information is power. But what if that power was used to manipulate, deceive, and control? Welcome to the world of information warfare, a modern battleground where truth is often a casualty and your perception is the target. From false narratives to targeted disinformation, adversaries use sophisticated tactics to spread confusion and create division. These tactics aren't just random, they're strategic. They exploit our emotions, sow distrust, and polarize societies. Understanding how information is used as a weapon is crucial to defend against these attacks. In hybrid warfare, information is used to achieve an advantage in which our adversaries seek to weaken our society. In the end, the most effective weapon against information warfare is awareness, education, and training. This is why we are here. This is why we are being proactive in this domain. Welcome to Norwich University's Military Writers Symposium.
Be manipulated, and all of us are susceptible. The script that you just heard, it's true. Our vision at Norwich is to be a leader in research, education, and understanding in this field. It is true that hybrid and cognitive warfare is in hyperdrive, and many in our society are unaware. It's one thing to tell you about constructing a version of reality, and it's quite the other to have you experience the process. Our societies have just begun the nexus between technology, AI, cognitive computing, and quantum computing. The future can be predicted, but we will be off just as much as those who tried to predict 2024 100 years ago, where in 1924 we were just replacing horses and only 45% of Americans had electricity. Morgan Freeman was not, as some of you suspected, real. But how long did it take for you to realize that? The audio and video were created by Cadet Brendan Coyne, who is conducting research in this area, and Dr. Jonathan Adkins, sitting right up front. Dr. Adkins is from NU's Leahy School of Cybersecurity and Advanced Computing, and he created the avatar. My name is Dr. Travis Morris, and I have the honor of being the Executive Director of the Military Writers Symposium and the Peace and War Center Director. I would like to welcome you to this year's symposium, and we are thrilled that you're able to attend. We welcome our distinguished guests from all over the world, and thank you in advance for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. Lieutenant General Potter, we are so thankful for you being here, ma'am, and we look forward to hearing your remarks in a few minutes. The Military Writers Symposium exists to advance our understanding of significant security challenges that we face in the 21st century. Our nation's future leaders, who are the students in this room, and the students who are on campus, will see a battlefield that is fought on multiple fronts, both in war and in peacetime. Preparing leaders for the future has been Norwich's business for over 200 years. It's what we do. It's what we will always do. Norwich is currently a thought leader in the information warfare space. We have undergraduate and graduate minors and certificates. We do information warfare simulations, information warfare research and internships, and software applications are dedicated to this domain. We and our partners like Norwich University Applied Research Institute are proud to be in the lead in understanding this critical subject. Over the next 2 days, you, our campus, and community have an excellent program before you. We would like to encourage you to attend as many of these sessions as you can, to ask questions, and to interact with our guests. The Symposium and the Colby Award would not be possible without the support of the university leadership and the Pritzker Military Museum and Library. A heartfelt thanks to Lieutenant General John Broadmeadow, President of Norwich University, Provost and Dean of the Faculty, Brigadier General Gaines, PhD, Associate Provost for Research and Chief Research Officer, Dr. Kulkarni, Dr. Leah Williams, Senior Associate Provost, Commandant and Vice President of Student Affairs, Brigadier General McCullough, the Military Writers Associates, Norwich University's development, and for their continued support. So this year's theme, Perception Wars, the battle to control reality, emphasizes that an information war is happening, and it will only accelerate, and it impacts absolutely all of us in this room. The next 2 days will unpack the ingredients of the current informational environment. This morning, we are very fortunate to have Lieutenant General Potter deliver our keynote address, and her remarks afterwards, we should have some time for question and answer, and you'll see 2 mics that are to your left and to your right. So if you have questions, you can be thinking about that should we have time at the end. And also, Chatham House rules apply. If you're not certain what that is, just briefly, the information that is shared in this room does not need to be attributed. It is now my pleasure and honor to introduce Lieutenant General John Broadmeadow, Norwich's 25th president, who's the highest-ranking Marine officer to ever graduate. Just a couple remarks, so I got it. This is the highest-ranking Marine officer to ever graduate Norwich. He has a very distinguished 37 years of Marine Corps service. He will introduce our keynote speaker, so let's welcome him with a round of applause. Welcome, sir.
Hey, come here. We'll stand here 1 second. Where's your team? Can I get your team to stand up? I'm going to start with a thank you, and there's probably going to be a lot of these throughout the day, but you know, like many of you know, although I've been around this university since 1979, a lot of things that I'm seeing now as your president are my first. And while I've heard about the Military Writers Symposium and I've heard about our Peace and War Center, I really never understood it. What I am learning at a very rapid rate here is that this truly is a world-class program that we've got here. We really do talk about some cutting-edge things. I had a great opportunity to sit through an information warfare exercise that our students and students from other senior military colleges sat through, and it really opened my eyes as to how good it was. And in preparing for our event this year, I really became to understand that Dr. Morris and his team, where's your team? They're probably all out and about. So good. So on behalf of all of them, I want to say, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you for putting this on. And I think a lot of other people are probably going to do that throughout this. But as the new guy on the block here, I wanted to say thank you very much for all that you've done, Travis.
Thank you.
So now this better go off without a hitch, right? So, all right. So now I can skip my whole first paragraph here. It really is a pleasure to have you all here. I'm glad to see a number of these seats filled up, and I know that people will be coming in and out throughout the day. This is our 30th annual symposium. 30 years of continuous effort and evolution is impressive and something that we should all be very proud of. Our dedicated faculty and staff have spent 3 decades refining this symposium into a staple event that takes place on our campus every year. It's important that we create a space not only to discuss exceptional military writing, but one where we can learn from high-level professionals in person right here in Northfield. This year, we're hosting some experts who are exploring one of the most pressing threats to global peace in history, information warfare. You know, just a quick deviation, and something I'd like you to keep in mind as we go through this, that one of my mentors said, and he's pretty famously quoted out there, that the nature of warfare does not change, but the character of warfare continually evolves. And I'd like you to kind of keep that in mind as you go through the conversations over the next couple days. Warfare does constantly evolve, and weapons become more potent and more powerful, to the point where kinetically the Earth could be destroyed in a matter of minutes. But information warfare is dangerous in a very different way. You know, when I was a student here in the early 80s, we were keenly aware of the threat of nuclear war, but the internet was barely even discussed. And the vast cyber networks that we have today didn't even exist. It's quite astonishing how technological advancements, not just traditional weapons, pose some of the greatest threats to our future. It's crucial that we understand the role of artificial intelligence in cybersecurity and their hold on hybrid warfare. What are the consequences of wartime propaganda transforming into everyday attacks on reality? How do we keep our strategic and tactical information safe from our enemies? How do we employ artificial intelligence to ensure our security while others are exploiting it and undermining it? We recognize the importance of keeping abreast of all these changes, but we hold events like this one because we want to be ahead of the curve. 30 years into its existence, this is still the only symposium of its kind, bringing together some of the brightest minds from field and the classroom. Today, I'm proud to introduce one of those bright minds, our keynote speaker, United States Army Lieutenant General Laura Potter, the 58th Director of the Army Staff. There's hardly a better person we could highlight today. General Potter's commissioned in the Military Intelligence Corps in 1989. She's built an impressive resume throughout the years. She's seen assignments and deployments around the globe, and she's been awarded significant medals to include the Defense Superior Service Medal. Prior to her role as the Director of the Army Staff, she's held roles as the U.S. Army Deputy Chief of Staff G2, the Commanding General at the U.S. Army Intelligence Center of Excellence at Fort Huachuca, and the Director J2 of U.S. European Command. What all of those say is that she truly is an expert in this field. Her professional experience is underscored by her commitment to education, as she is a distinguished military graduate of Dickinson College, where she studied Russian and Spanish, a graduate of Georgetown's School of Foreign Service, the Center of Eurasian, Russian, and East European Studies, and a graduate of the Naval War College, something I'm very happy to see on your resume, with a master's in national security and strategic studies. We're very lucky to have her with us today, and I'm very proud to be able to do the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Potter.
Well, thanks, everyone. I can't tell you how honored I am to be here. When I was preparing for these remarks, I noticed that the theme for my remarks was 2 truths and a lie, and life would be so easy if that's all we had to contend with. But the 2 truths are, 1, this topic is absolutely timely and appropriate for this symposium. And the second truth that goes with it is, as a career intelligence officer, I do believe this is the greatest threat to our national security and our way of life that we face as a military and as a nation. The lie would be that we're prepared to address it. And there certainly is work being done, but there's a lot more work left to do. And I'm going to sort of touch on some of my thoughts on that as I close. So as General Broadmeadow mentioned, I'm the 58th Director of the Army Staff, or as we call it, the DAS. And that job sort of keeps the trains running in the Pentagon. So I don't get out much. So this is a real treat to be able to step away and be back on the Norwich campus. I'm truly honored to be sharing this day with some tremendously gifted intellectuals, thinkers, and writers who are very steeped in the theme of the symposium. And what I hope to do is to contribute just a little bit based on my observations from 35 years in the Army. Before I do that, though, I'd like to begin by thanking Norwich University for all that it has done over the past 2 centuries to support and defend our nation. It's an absolute privilege to be back here, especially as the university is also celebrating its 50th anniversary of the first women in the Corps of Cadets. You might wonder why I said back on this campus. As some of you know, Norwich University founded a Russian school at Windham College in 1958, and the school moved to Norwich 10 years later and grew a reputation for being one of the best Russian immersion programs in the United States during the Cold War. And while the threat that we were most concerned about at the time was the nuclear arsenal and this idea of a bipolar world, understanding what's written in the native language of your adversary was really important to me at the time. In the summer of 1987, I arrived on this campus. The atmosphere, the campus setting, the small town environment created the perfect learning environment for maturing one's language skills, and to this day, I treasure my time here. It's also the birthplace of the Reserve Officer Training Corps, and as a product of ROTC and in anticipation of speaking here today, I found myself reflecting on just how impactful that's been to our nation's history. And it was a pretty radical thought at the time, but the efforts of this school's founder, Captain Alden Partridge, have become a cornerstone in our nation's preparedness to meet the many challenges and conflicts it's encountered over the past 2+ centuries. His foresight allowed for a wider net to be cast across our citizenry, giving young and energetic and aspiring college students, just like many in this audience, the opportunity to enter into the Army's Officer Corps. It gave those willing to not just serve, but to lead their fellow countrymen and women a means of commissioning other than attendance at one of our prestigious military academies. This is a legacy that Norwich should always be tremendously proud of. So with that said, for everyone who organized this and for the awesome institution that it represents, I'd like everyone to please give Norwich a round of applause.